My name's Ethan, and if there's one thing I've learned about life, it's that rejection has a way of carving deep scars into your soul, but sometimes, those scars push you to become someone even you never imagined you could be. Back in college, I wasn't the kind of guy people noticed. I wasn't rich, I wasn't popular, and I definitely wasn't the one girls lined up to date. I came from a middle-class family. My dad worked long hours at a repair shop, my mom stayed home, and money was always tight. I wore the same couple of shirts every week, carried an old backpack, and lived with a constant awareness that I just didn't belong in the same world as kids who drove shiny cars to campus. There was this girl, Olivia. She was beautiful, smart, and seemed like the kind of person who had her whole life perfectly lined up. She was always surrounded by friends, the type who walked into a room and everyone noticed. For reasons I still don't fully understand, my heart decided she was the one. I admired her from a distance for months, telling myself I'd never have the courage to say anything. But one day, fueled by a mix of adrenaline and foolish hope, I finally walked up to her after class and asked if she'd like to grab a coffee sometime. She laughed. Not in a cruel way, but in the kind of laugh that slices deeper than words. "Ethan," she said, "you're a nice guy, but we're just not the same. I don't think you'd understand my world." Those words stuck in my chest like daggers. Not the same. I smiled awkwardly, muttered something about, "no worries," and walked away, but inside I was burning. That night, lying in my small, creaky bed, I kept hearing her words. Not the same. Not good enough. Not her world. From that day forward, something inside me changed. I wasn't just hurt, I was determined. I promised myself that one day, I'd build a life so solid, so successful, that no one could ever look at me and think I wasn't enough. But determination doesn't pay bills overnight. After college, while Olivia and her friends were posting glamorous photos of trips and fancy dinners, I was working 2 jobs just to keep afloat. I worked mornings at a coffee shop, evenings at a small tech company where I barely made minimum wage. My friends from school drifted away, chasing bigger dreams, while I stayed behind grinding quietly in the shadows. There were nights when I wanted to quit, nights when the weight of being invisible felt unbearable. But every time I thought about giving up, I remembered her laugh, that quick reminder that I wasn't from her world. And I swore to myself I'd build one. Slowly, things began to shift. I started teaching myself programming at night, working on small freelance projects. Clients liked my dedication. 1 project turned into 5, 5 turned into 10. Within a couple of years, I had built enough experience to launch my own software solutions company. It wasn't glamorous at first, just me in a small rented office with a second-hand laptop, but I poured my soul into it. The business grew. Word spread. By the time I was 27, I had a small team working for me, and big clients were finally knocking on our doors. The boy who once got laughed at for asking out a girl now had contracts with companies worth millions. But success isn't just about money. With each milestone, I felt a little more confident, a little less haunted by those words. I upgraded my parents' house, bought them a new car, and for the first time, I saw pride shining in their tired eyes. That feeling alone was worth everything. Years rolled by, and life had transformed in ways I couldn't have dreamed. I had a sleek apartment in the city, a wardrobe that didn't make me feel out of place, and a reputation in the business community. But deep inside, a part of me still carried the memory of that college boy who had been told he wasn't the same. One evening, I attended a charity gala, an event filled with business leaders, celebrities, and high-profile socialites. I wasn't really there for the glamour, my company was one of the sponsors. I was standing near the bar when I heard a familiar voice. My heart skipped. I turned around, and there she was. Olivia. Time had changed her, but she was still beautiful. She looked surprised when our eyes met. She walked over, her heels clicking against the marble floor, and for a moment, it felt like the years had folded in on themselves. "Ethan," she said, her voice carrying a mix of shock and curiosity. "Wow, you look different." I smiled. "Different good or different bad?" She laughed softly, a little nervously. "Definitely good. You've changed a lot since college." We talked for a while. She told me about her life, how she worked in marketing, how things hadn't exactly gone the way she'd imagined. There was a faint sadness behind her eyes, like the weight of choices made and roads not taken. Then she asked about me, and I told her about my company, my team, the work we were doing. I kept it simple, but her widened eyes told me she understood just how far I'd come. At one point, she looked down at her glass and said quietly, "You know, back in college. I was wrong about you." For a moment, I felt the old wound stir, but instead of anger, I felt peace. I smiled and said, "We were kids. You don't need to apologize. Honestly, I should thank you. You lit a fire in me that never went out." She looked at me, her eyes glistening. "Do you think, maybe we could catch up sometime? Coffee, maybe dinner?" I paused. The college version of me would have said yes in a heartbeat. But the man I had become knew better. I looked at her kindly and said, "Maybe. But let's take it slow. I'm not the same person I used to be, and neither are you." That night, as I drove home, city lights flickering through my windshield, I realized something important. It was never really about proving myself to her. It was about proving myself to me. And I had done that. Weeks later, Olivia and I did meet again. Not as a boy begging for acceptance, but as two adults who had walked very different paths. And for the first time, I saw her not as an untouchable dream, but as a person, flawed, human, and maybe, just maybe, someone who could fit into the world I had built. Our story didn't end with revenge or regret. It ended with possibility. Because sometimes, life's sweetest victories aren't about making others eat their words, they're about finally finding peace within yourself, and opening your heart when the time is right. Our story didn't end with revenge or regret. It ended with possibility. Because sometimes, life's sweetest victories aren't about making others eat their words, they're about finally finding peace within yourself, and opening your heart when the time is right. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more stories like this. Your support means everything, it keeps me motivated to bring you new emotional journeys every week. And remember, no matter how dark the beginning feels, every story can still find its way to a brighter ending.